Welcome to Africa Media Australia. I'm Claude Shirati. Thank you very much for watching this video. Here at AMA, we've decided to start a new series on the recently launched Victorian African Community Action Plan, vACAP in short. This is an action plan that was launched by the Minister of Multicultural Affairs, a 10-year plan designed to strengthen the Victorian African communities. We're going to talk about the history of the plan, its launch, its priority areas, what is happening now, what can be expected from it, and how the community can contribute to its successful implementation. Those are some of the things we're trying to cover. We also have an interview with the Minister of Multicultural Affairs, and we'll also be talking to some of the community leaders in our next edition, because what we want to be able to do is to get some community conversation happening around this plan. The success of the plan is likely to improve the lives of Victorian Africans in a very significant way. But at this point, it is just a plan. We were trying to find out what it actually entails. Now, the plan was launched in April by the Minister of Multicultural Affairs. It was done at the city campus of the Victoria University on Flinders Street. I'm going to let you watch the Minister. We did have an opportunity to speak to the Minister on the day of the launch, so I'm going to get you to listen to what he had to say.
The African communities themselves putting forward a vision of what's needed to address issues in the community faced by members of their Victorian African communities. I can assure you there's a strong commitment within government that we need to address issues as they arrive in African communities to ensure that all Victorians, including Victorians' African community, have the chance to contribute and belong in our society. There's obviously priorities around business, employment, and I would actually have to say that the people's desire for agency and contribution in the consultations that I had and participated in was really a strong theme, that people want the opportunity to participate and belong within the society, want the opportunity to have their talents and abilities expressed and to contribute themselves, not just for themselves, but for the entire community. The Victorian government is committed to ensuring that Victorians of an African heritage have a real chance to contribute, to participate, to have jobs, to start businesses, to be respected, and live free of discrimination. And this is something that's really important to the Victorian government, and it's just doing honour and justice to the great contribution the Victorian of an African heritage already make, and I know so much more can be done when we have those talents and skills expressed in our society.
I'm going to try to give you a little bit of a history of the plan. Things started happening in around 2016 when a group of Victorian Africans came together as part of the African Australian Community Leadership Forum, and they put together an issues paper, which is basically just a document that highlighted some of the most challenging issues affecting the Victorian community, the Victorian African community, that is. That issues paper was then adopted by the Minister, who put together a group of African leaders. They refer to them as the African Ministerial Working Group. About 12 or so individuals were part of that group, and they started working on not just what was highlighted in the issues paper, but they also looked at what else was happening in the community, and they got submissions from the broader community as well, including from the service providers and not-for-profit area. All of that was put together, and developed into what is now referred to as the Victorian African Community Plan. This is a plan that has identified 6 areas of priorities. Business, that is one. Employment is the second. Education and training is the third. Health and well-being, the 4th area. Inclusion and empowerment is the 5th area. And the last one is leadership, cohesion, and connection. So these are the areas that the plan will focus on to try to deliver outcomes that will help to strengthen members of the African communities in Victoria. I have to say that even though initially when the issues paper was published and the minister started taking a bit of attention on that, there was nothing that was happening in the community until eventually there was quite a lot of issues with youth offending that took place in the last quarter of 2017. Some of you here in Melbourne and the rest of Australia would be aware of that. All these young people involved in some antisocial behaviors. That provided some sort of impetus to the minister to actually not only be seen to do something, but to do something, trying to help African communities. They were under a lot of pressure to do something because the opposition here in Victoria was fighting them on that ground of being too soft on crime. So it's kind of helped this plan to come together. It could have happened without these issues, but it's just something that we need to mention. Yeah. So what does this plan mean really for you? I suppose it is a big opportunity for some improvement in relation to the life of Africans in Victoria. The plan provides focus by the government, by the community groups, the not-for-profit sector, and all the service providers to try to do something to help some sections of the Victorian African community. We have to say that there are a lot of Victorian Africans who have absolutely no need for any plan. They come to Australia as skilled migrants and they hit the ground running. They need no specific plan to help them. Having said that, there are also quite a lot of people who come to Victoria and to Australia with quite a few issues, especially those from a refugee background. Employment is an issue for many in this cohort, so the plan will not only address issues for this group of the Victorian African population, it will try to cover all of them. This is why it is important for not just the leaders, but the regular member of the community, the professionals, the young people, the women, the seniors, everybody within the Victorian African community to be active contributors to this plan. One thing that needs to actually be done better is the communication between the leadership in the community and the rest of the community. You see a lot of community leaders really being quite active and doing a lot of things, organizing events here, and many things happening all over the place. But there's very little communication that is flowing between the leadership and the rest of the community. Not many African organizations, as far as I know at least, have a regular, even a simple regular newsletter to communicate with the membership and the broader community about what is happening. So all the knowledge, all the expertise and the connection that is being made by the leaders is not necessarily transferred to the rest of the community, and that is something that is lacking. So as we specialize in communication and media and public relations, we're happy to help community leaders who express the need to do something to improve their communication with the rest of the community. Not many always do put enough focus at this level, and as part of this plan, I think it's very important to get the whole of the community to be behind it, to contribute to its success. The other thing is, well, the minister has announced about $8.6 million from the budget to be allocated to this plan. That is encouraging. It's not a lot of money, we have to admit. The plan is for 10 years. African communities There's a whole lot of them, and there are a lot of issues, whether you're talking about, unemployment, youth at risk, education, housing, all of those things will require a lot more than the money that has been announced so far. But we have to admit it is something. We haven't seen any government funding so far that has exceeded that amount or even got close to it. So it is encouraging. Let's hope there will be more money, because apparently the $8.6 million, and also there will be a bit of money that is available from the pool of the multicultural communities that is going to be added to that $8.6 million. So we're talking approximately $10 million. That apparently is just for the leadership, cohesion, and connection, which is one of the priorities that have been identified. We're still expecting a bit more communication from the minister's office to really be clear on this. And this is also another area we would want the government, the minister's office, to be able to communicate with the community in a much more clear and consistent and transparent way, to avoid noise in the communication, to avoid suspicion, because there might be some infighting, there may be some people wanting to position themselves to and their organization to make the most of the plan. In between that, there's, as you know, some politicking within the community. So if the communication is not flowing properly, it may actually jeopardize the successful implementation of the plan. What has happened since the plan was launched is that the minister's office has asked people to express their interest in being part of the steering committee that is being put together. That was announced sometime in May, and the submissions were closed, I think, early June. So we're expecting the minister to make some announcement in terms of the implementation stages and any sort of planning on that. So we are told there will be something happening in the first week of July, so very soon. The minister is expected to make some announcement, so we will keep you updated on everything that is happening. So what we really want you to do is actually to be part of the conversation. This video, comment below the video, say what you think. We will be glad to also talk to people over the phone in our studio. You can come to our studio and we can have a chat with you if you want to say something about the plan, but take time to go through it and be sure you know what you want to talk about, and we will have a chat with you with regards to that. We want to know from the leaders, from the regular members of the public, from women, from young people, from seniors, from professionals, everyone who has some sort of interest in this plan, to be able to say what they say. We do need to communicate about this in a very clear and transparent way and get people to really be behind this plan. So before we go, in our next edition, we'll have other members of the community, including some of the architects of this plan, those who started the issues paper, which eventually developed into the vACAP plan. We're trying to speak to as many of them, and we want to get also people in the community who have concerns about either the youth, employment, educational opportunities. Anybody who has something to say, we would try to accommodate as many people as possible. So that is all for now, folks, and until next time, stay blessed, and please comment and like Africa Media Australia and subscribe on our YouTube channel to get all the updates from us. Thank you very much.